We're on item 14, which is the Scottish Housing Regulator Annual Assurance Statement. And Andy's going to take us through the paper, thanks.
Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon, Council. This paper asks members to approve the submission of Clackmannanshire Council's Annual Assurance Statement for 2025 to the Scottish Housing Regulator. The statement is attached to Appendix 1 and can be found on page 387. The paper provides some background context with reference to the regulatory framework for social housing in Scotland and outlines that all social landlords must provide annual assurance to the regulator to confirm that they comply with the relevant standards and legal requirements as set out within Chapter 3 of the Housing Scotland Act. This year's statement is largely unchanged from the one which was previously submitted to Council last year. We continue to show really strong levels of compliance with almost all of the outcomes of the Scottish Social Housing Charter. And our position with regards to tenant safety is a really positive one. We're able to evidence through the work that we do in our planned and reactive maintenance activity a clear and continued commitment to tenant safety in areas such as damp and mould, asbestos management, gas, electrical and fire safety. And Murray had made some reference earlier today to the requirement for us to keep the regulator up to date on progress in the management of the RAC situation. And they are content that we have continued to do that throughout the process. And the statement makes reference to that. As was the case last year, there remain two areas of material non-compliance with the regulatory requirements. These are detailed within the statement and within section 4.1 of the paper. Very briefly, they relate to continued challenges in meeting their obligations in homelessness and a non-compliance with the Scottish Government's Homeless Persons Unsuitable Accommodation Order. And that is due to a continued need for the use of temporary accommodation located out with the local authority area for periods greater than 7 days. In relation to Gypsy Traveller sites at present, we don't comply with the legislative duties associated with the provision and the management of the site at Westhaw. And that's due, obviously, to the significant delay that we know has been incurred in the redevelopment of the work on the site, and that the residents continue to reside off-site elsewhere at present. We'd ask members to note that there are a number of planned improvement actions set out within the assurance statement in Appendix 1, and the service will progress these with the intention of reducing and, where possible, removing the issues of non-compliance. Our forward engagement plan with the housing regulator is attached as Appendix 4. We have met twice already this year with the regulator and have a further 2 visits scheduled before the end of the financial year. And the regulator so far has been absolutely content with our management of service delivery within the key areas that they are focused on within our engagement plan. The paper also asked members to note the progress made in the delivery of a 4-year tenant participation strategy. A brief summary overview of Year 1 activity is provided at section 4.21 of the paper. And the Year 2 action plan is attached as Appendix 2. The action plan lists the key areas of tenant participation activity that we plan to focus on over the next 12 months. And the second year plan was created in collaboration with the Clackmannanshire Tenants and Residents Federation and in conjunction with the housing spokesperson. And we're really keen to progress to take forward the actions contained within it. One final point of note, as I asked within the paper, that members approve to revoke from use our current policy relating to Scottish short secure tenancies, SSTs. Sections 4.22 to 4.25 of the paper provide the rationale for this, but essentially our policy is a copy of the existing housing legislation and the guidance for this type of tenancy. And moving forward, we would propose to continue to do as we have been doing and follow the legislation and guidance, and without need for a duplicate standalone policy, which simply mirrors the existing legislation. Thank you. I'm happy to take any questions which members may have.
Okay, thanks, Andy. I've got Councillor Harrison, over the Councillor Porson.
Thanks for that, Andy. Just as a question on the non-compliance of the homelessness, I understand why that happens with a very small authority with very small resources when it comes to trying to place people into homeless accommodation. Are we still speaking to the Scottish Government around about? So if I think about geography, so we are very small. We move people probably just to neighbouring authorities which are only a few miles along the road, whereas if I think about Highland Council, Highland Council have got the opportunity to move people probably hundreds of miles. So are we still speaking to the Scottish Government to look at that anomaly and whether we can have some form of yes, thanks.
Thanks, Councillor Harrison. Yeah, you're quite right. It is a point that we've made previously and we continue to make to both the Scottish Government and the housing regulator through the engagement in the various channels and routes that we have. And you're quite right that we do feel that it is almost quite an unfair position it places us in, that we are very restricted by the size of the geographical area. And in some instances, it may well be the case that the most suitable accommodation on a temporary basis for an individual is just beyond our boundary in Stirlingshire area, depending upon work and educational related factors specific to an individual or a family. But yeah, we haven't unfortunately as yet had any positive feedback on that front. We remain in that current position, but certainly we push that at every opportunity as part of our conversations when we're able to do so.
Thank you, Councillor Forson. Following the fight, Councillor McTaggart.
I was actually going to ask that question, but just developing it a wee bit. Can we actually, I suppose, make the point the next time we're speaking to them about it that if we had to increase our temporary accommodation to meet the regulations, etc., that it would have such a detrimental impact on our kind of permanent accommodation because of our size, there is a limited amount of accommodation that we can have at one time, and I'd maybe suggest that we should kind of engage on that a wee bit more forcibly moving forward.
Yeah, we'll certainly do that, Councillor Forson. I think whether it's as we move forward with more strategic view towards increasing our temporary accommodation, or even in the position that we're in at the moment, as we're discussing and describing, that obviously we're looking for temporary accommodation, hotels, B&Bs, etc., in the position that we're in currently, and obviously there's not a great deal of that within Clackmannanshire, so we are having to go to surrounding areas to obtain that, and as we know, we're then can almost competing in the same market as other local authorities who are also looking for the same temporary accommodation. So yeah, we will absolutely continue to explore potential about that and push that moving forward.
Thank you, Councillor McTaggart.
Thanks, Convener. Andy, on the other area where we're non-compliant, the Gypsy Traveller site, obviously I've been involved in this process from day one, basically. But could you give the other members some comfort as to a brief overview of where we are with that now and how soon we can expect that situation to be resolved? Because although we're non-compliant now, by the time this is reported again, we'll know. So it was just to give could you maybe give the members some comfort about that? Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor McTaggart. Yeah, absolutely. We're in a really positive place at the moment with the development work with the West Hall site. So construction works on site have been going at pace, and we do anticipate that we're well on track at the moment. The scheduled completion date for the site is May next year. We anticipate that will be achieved where we are sitting at this moment in time. Clearly, we're coming into the winter period. We've got really adverse weather today. We expect that will be the case as we go through the winter period, so there could potentially be an impact on the construction programme. That said, a lot of the good work that's happened so far and has been achieved is in the ground, where obviously some of the wet concrete and cement pouring has been taking place in the favourable weather. So even if we do see some adverse weather over the winter period, we're very, very hopeful that the construction work will be largely unimpacted on that. A lot of the work to take place can take place in adverse weather. So we're well on track. Things are progressing really, really well. As Councillor McTaggart said, we would expect fully that next year that item will come off from the assurance statement. We had a meet with the regulator just on Tuesday of this week, and we conveyed that message to them at that time as well, that it remains on the assurance statement at present. We would fully expect it will drop off next year. The residents are being kept up to date. Monthly meetings are scheduled with the residents. They're fully up to speed with where we are, and they're quite happy with the progress being made so far, which is really pleasing as well.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, Councillor Quinn?
Thanks, Convener. Andy, at 4.1 4 to 5, you're talking about meetings with the SHR, and you say that two meetings have taken place, but you've not yet received any formal feedback. That to me seems bizarre, given that that's a key area of non-compliance, and they're not prepared to come back. Or did you not chase them, or have they just not supplied it?
Thanks, Councillor Coyne. Yeah, I think the reference to no formal feedback is a reference to nothing coming our way in writing as such. So we have discussion immediately at the conclusion of these engagement sessions, these meetings, and the most recent one on Tuesday. The feedback on the day was positive in the sense that the regulator was satisfied that we are continuing to deliver services and manage situations to the best of our ability as we can do at present. So that reference is, as I say, more toward we don't actually get anything in writing, so to speak, from them on the back of these engagement visits. It's all very verbal at the time.
Well, I assume that you put it in your report because it was important that you weren't getting formal feedback. Are you now saying it's not really that important because you get enough informal?
It was really just to make the point that we believe the meetings that we have with the regulator are really positive. We do receive feedback on the day, and just to be clear that we, from their side of things, that they don't actually give us anything in writing. But just a point of clarity, I suppose, that it's our belief, if you like, that the conclusion of the meetings, the feedback we've had is really positive. And as I say, we don't get anything in writing.
Do you miss it? Would it be helpful?
Be helpful in this instance where I could reference it. Really helpful. Yeah, I would suggest that to the regulator at our next engagement session.
I think in terms of wider answer, Councillor Coyne, that I think in essence, you don't actually want a letter for the regulator. The worst thing you can actually end up with having a letter from any regulatory body. And obviously, I think the positive aspect of course, it is highlighted in the report. We haven't received formal feedback. It's to be seen as a positive that they haven't send us letters every 6 months to say, hang on here, what's going on with this? So our engagement sessions are clarifying the points to the regulator to give them the satisfaction which they need, so they don't have to put a letter to Nicky or the council leader to say, hang on here, what's going on?
Thank you. That's clarifying.
Okay. Is that you, Councillor Coyne? Councillor Harrison?
Thanks again, Convener. The EPCs put in place to make sure that we don't miss them again. You know, that when they come up for their due date, we actually are aware of their due date and make sure that they're captured.
Thanks, Councillor Harrison. Yeah, it's a good question. That's something obviously that we'd communicated previously, you know, the Scrutiny Committee and through our ARP return to the SHR that we'd had a failing in that area. So yeah, we twofold really. Obviously there was some human error involved in that, but also our systems as well, the way that our systems flag EPCs is becoming due. There was some improvement which could be made there and has now been made. So it's twofold. It's a bit of working with staff to improve awareness around about it, and a bit of training there, but also looking at our IT systems, our database, and how that flags EPCs that are becoming due. We've taken action on that front as well, so to try and mitigate against any future risk associated with that.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, thanks, Andy. Councillor McTaggart to read the paper.
Thanks, Convener. You note from the paper that, for the most part, we are compliant with the regulations set out by the housing regulator. There are non-compliant areas, but the housing team are doing their utmost to address those within the resources available to them. As we've just had a discussion about, we cannot put homeless people in properties that we just do not have. So right there, it's we have a huge disadvantage in this area to be compliant. Two positive points I'd like to highlight are around tenant participation in the West Hall community. A great deal of work has gone into those two particular areas. Tenant participation will increase greatly with the introduction of a tenant scrutiny panel, and early indications are that this is welcomed by the housing team, our tenants and our partner organisations. I've been involved in early meetings around this and other aspects of tenant participation, and we appear to be setting out on a very promising journey. I've also been involved with the West Hall community throughout the transition period they've been on, from the old Travellers site being demolished through to the start of this current and new development. And while the process has taken longer than anticipated for a variety of reasons, we are now edging closer to completion. The engagement between the housing team and the West Hall community have been exemplary, and I'm sure the West Hall community would agree. There's also been a very keen focus on our damp and mould programme to ensure this is identified and resolved as quickly as possible, ensuring our tenants are not subjected to any ill effects of damp and mould. We'll continue to work towards full compliance, and I'm happy to support this paper. Thanks, Convener.
Thank you. Councillor Harrison to second.
Yeah, thanks, Convener. Yeah, I welcome the report as well, and the fact that the vast majority of the the regulations we are compliant with. On the two non-compliant issues, I know that there are actions in place to improve these, and the team are working on these. Like Councillor McTaggart, I fully understand the issues around about the homelessness one, and understand how difficult that is going to be for a small local authority with the geography that we've got to comply with that. I'd also like to highlight the tenant participation as well, and the ongoing increase in engagement there. I think that's very positive too, so yeah, happy to see.
Okay, thank you. The paper's now open for debate. Anybody wish to debate? No? Okay, on that basis, then are we happy to approve the paper? Thank you. We're having some online issues at the moment, so we're just going to pause the meeting for a couple of minutes to try and get that resolved.
It's that after lunch things. I know, this is. Usually that's what. Yeah. And then.
There's a lot. Adjustments.
Too much to do, don't it? On Monday.
It's all come down. Show me the limit. So I had a bit of an accident in the back of my van when we started came together and said, sure, Keith was all right. And it just especially give him back. Yeah. I would probably stuff that we had the order with everything we had on. All right. There's nothing missing. All that stuff and there was falling out the back and shoving into our basket. So,
Back.
I looked at the movies, it was one thing back. I was with us in the morning, I see this. Lovely driver. My second holiday drops, and second holiday, not my first holiday drops. And I'm sure. That's great. Yeah, we'll give that a good. Yeah, so the stuff is just shit. I don't know, I understand. Jumps out.
19th is all.
I think so me, wouldn't be completely idea. Yes.
I think at least sometimes I put up on a so if they start speaking actions. Yeah, you have something. All the song goes up, yeah, trying to space them up, but I just can't. Yeah. Yeah. So still like really advantage. I think that's right. Very me. Must set up. It's everyone.
Thanks, colleagues. Apologies for the delay there, with the technical glitch, but I think we're back up and running, at least with sound, and both Councillor Lennon and Lucky are able to indicate if they want to speak and to contribute to the meeting verbally, and we can't see them visually, so we're going to go ahead to the meeting as it stands at the moment. We're on to item 15, which is a Strategic Housing Investment Plan 2026 to 2031, and Murray's going to take us through that.
Thanks, Chair, and afternoon, Council. Yes, as Phil was outlined there, presented to members this afternoon is the Strategic Housing Investment Plan 26 to 2031. This will be open. This will be the last formation of this report coming forward to Council. It is likely that the Scottish Government guidance will change this format to, instead of coming annually to Council, it will come on at least a 3-yearly basis to allow Councils much more forward projection over the figures and allowment over adjustment to the programme. But obviously we'll wait and see when that guidance comes and report back to Council at that stage. Clearly the report indicates some success in terms of this year in terms of off-sale purchase, and is obviously looking for requests to double that commitment by bringing forward money from the HRA capital budget into this year to make allowance for the RPA allowance in the programme, which was over and above what we had assumed or had confirmed at the same stage last year from the Scottish Government. In the report, and apologies, Council, at 2.15, the recommendation indicates 7.4, which doesn't actually appear in the report and or the appendix, so apologies. It does then generally reference section 7, where we are making strides in terms of looking to maximise the grant for this year by bringing forward those off-the-shelf purchases, as well as looking at some of the discussion in the last paper around temporary accommodation, look at some of the initiatives involved in temporary accommodation to try and maximise that spend. Clearly, the report indicates our forward projection spend over the next couple of years, and as Council will see, in line with the government guidance, we have over-programmed in the next couple of years, but there is obviously in year 5 an under-allocation of that programme, which could help if the government guidance changes to try and rebalance some of that out at that period in terms of progress of affordable housing on the ground. But reports there, happy to take any questions.
Okay, thanks, Murray. Do we have any questions for Murray?
Yeah, I do.
Councillor Coyne?
Yeah, anything in 3.2 on page 402, it says. Sorry, folks. 3.2 on page 402, it says the SHIP is due to be submitted to the Scottish Government the 31st of October 2025. But actually, in the plan on page 410, it says this is now out of date, will be fully revised in 2026. This one, which is correct. Pages 410 and 402, you're looking at 2.1 and 410 and lost it, 3.2 on the other page. Seems to be a contradiction there.
Yes, it's almost like the
Not sure.
Yeah, so in terms of 2.1 in the main strategic housing investment plan, that's obviously the actual shift that you're actually looking at. In terms of,
Sorry, apologies. Yeah, so it's actually the references in relation to the local housing strategy, which were developed after the housing needs and demand assessment. So it's maybe just a cross reference that's incorrect. It's picked up the wrong aspect. So the local housing strategy will be developed after council approves the housing needs and demand assessment, which is due at council next month in November on the forward plan. Obviously, the interim strategy came to council in June for the interim setting of that, and obviously it's out to consultation at present. I hope that answers your question.
So I should read in 2.1, I should read that this refers to the second mentioned noun in the sentence, not the first. In other words, it refers to the strategy. Just bad grammar. Okay, right. Question. Demolition of England Drive. Hello, what happens after the demolition is completed? What are the plans for that site?
So there is actually worked up, Kingdom House Association do have worked up plans that actually does actually have full planning permission. So we can circulate drawings. Councillor Holden actually asked Kate for this. So we can circulate to all members the actual formal drawings from the planning permission, the replacement flats.
And of course not, and the developers lined up to take the site forward. From memory, that was quite some time ago. That was commission. Has it been revisited, or is the planning commission out of date on that one?
Maybe looking at the other side of the table to see if my colleague would assist. This is a complex matter.
Thanks, Murray. So at the moment, we're in discussions with the applicant for the Coastal Norton planning permission, and we will feed back to the planning committee in relation to that. We've just taken some legal advice, so we tend to feed back to Councillor Kirk in relation to that. That's the planning authority aspect. There is also a aspect in terms of the council as being owner of land. And whilst the two are separate, they actually kind of fit together. So again, the land transaction is on hold until we deal with the planning aspect of it.
That's fine, thanks.
Any other questions? Oh, sorry,
To final one at Lockie's Road, the council is currently getting current costs from a new developer and will get outside of 25.6. I just wonder if that's getting a new developer makes any change to the overall plan for it, either financially or in terms of numbers of units. I seem to remember numbers of units might have been threatened by this.
There was I think actually you raised this question last year because I think it was like some discrepancy from our first. I think it's actually 8 units. It's 8 units. I think originally it was planned as 10 units, if memory serves me correct. So it is 8 units that's been planned for development on the site. So it's via arrangement via Hubco to obtain additional costs from the contractor.
Thanks.
Okay, any other questions for Murray? No? Okay, thanks, Murray. Councillor McTaggart to move the paper.
Thanks, convener, and thanks, Murray. A lot of work has gone into refining this plan, and the administration group has been involved throughout. I believe that an ambitious yet realistic plan has emerged, and that every effort has gone into this to make this the best it can be for Clackmannanshire. The SHIP is reviewed annually so far, and progress throughout the year will be monitored. We're working closely with the Scottish Government and our partners to ensure that Clackmannanshire gets as many new or refurbished homes as possible to help us to respond to the growing demand for affordable homes for those who are on our waiting lists and transfer lists. We're using the funds available through the Scottish Government grants and from our financial assets to maximise the positive impact and to achieve the best possible outcome. Members will be aware that there is a housing emergency, with a specific emphasis on homelessness. through our ship, we're intent on finding ways to address that, while being mindful that there are constraints around our financial position and the capacity of our officers that can hamper our aspirations. We're currently nearing the end of the process of refreshing our HNDA, which will inform our ship going forward. It is my view that despite the constraints that I've mentioned, this plan is achievable and offers a positive outlook. Happy to propose the paper. Thanks, Convener.
Thank you. Councillor Harrison to second.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, thanks, Convener. Yeah, just to echo what Councillor McTaggart's saying, it is an ambitious and realistic plan that does align with the administration's aspirations for social housing in Clackmannanshire. It's really good to see the positive movement in the report, both in terms of properties, but also in terms of the potential sites and the positive opportunities that they throw up as well. So happy to second. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The paper's now open for debate. You wish to debate the paper? No. I'd be happy to approve the paper as outlined. Okay, thank you. Murray, I understand that this is your last full council meeting. We're about to lose you. It's not bad enough we're about to lose you to a near neighbour. So I just wanted to say on behalf of all the elected members that I know you've been around the council for a very long time. We've all had our own dealings with you over the years that we've been here. You're incredibly knowledgeable, huge experience in terms of what it is you do, and we've all enjoyed the interactions we've had with you and the knowledge that you've shared with us, and the challenges you've set to us as councillors in terms of the direction we wanted to go at times as well. So your knowledge and experience has always been there, very evident to us in all the deals that we've had to deal with. It's ironic that Jane makes reference to the fact that the team's been nominated and shortlisted for the House of Team of the Year. There's no question about the contribution you'll have made through the time to get the team to that position. And I think that knowledge and experience will be a huge loss to that team, as much as it's to anybody else. So, much as we regret the fact that you're leaving, we do want to wish you all the very best in your endeavours. I understand your last day of service is Halloween. It's your last day, you can wear what the hell you like. Forward to see what you're turning up. But on behalf of all of us, Murray, thanks very much. Wish you all the best. Okay, we're on to item 16 now, which is a motion to be moved by Councillor Forson.
Thanks, Convener. This motion today is another step in turning words into action and making sure that the promise is not just something that we sign up to and forget about. As members will recall, in March 2022, this council formally agreed to adopt the promise, which is Scotland's national commitment to ensure that care-experienced children, young people, adults and their families are supported to live happy, healthy lives with love and respect at the heart of all public services. In 2023, through the Council's adoption of the Promise Plan, we further agreed to review all of our existing policies to ensure that they align with the aims and principles of the Promise and to ensure that new policies are developed through the same lens. I think we all understand that this is no small task. Reviewing every policy area across the Council in such a fundamental way will take time and careful work. But the principle is clear. If we're serious about keeping the promise, then our policies and our practice must reflect it. As a promise champion, I have on occasion been contacted by care-experienced people or by those supporting them, where it's clear that our policies, however well-intentioned, have risked working against the very spirit of the promise, and I don't think that's a situation we should accept. I do want to highlight, however, the positive progress already being made, particularly in education. Each of our schools have been working towards keeping the Promise Awards, which recognise their commitment to care-experienced young people and ensuring that school policies and practices are aligned with the promise. And I had the privilege of seeing firsthand, most recently, at a ceremony where both Craigbank and Fishcross primary schools received their awards. And this was a powerful reminder for me that this work is not abstract and it's already shaping culture and practice across Clackmannanshire. I also want to recognise that there has been some concerns in some areas about the approach that I've set out, but I think it's clear. For me, elected members set the policies for this council, and we did so by agreeing unanimously that all of our policies should be shaped through the lens of the promise. And that's the commitment we have made, and it's a standard by which we must hold ourselves accountable. This motion therefore sets out a pragmatic and principled way forward. So while the comprehensive review of policies is ongoing, we are affirming today that the promise must still guide our actions. Where existing policies may not fully reflect its spirit, we are empowering officers with appropriate oversight and accountability to apply flexibility and discretion in order to ensure that decisions are consistent with our commitment. By doing this, we ensure that our practice remains child and family centred, whilst also maintaining transparency and recording any flexing of policies to inform future reviews. For me, this motion is not about adding to the work of officers. It's about strengthening the foundation we've already laid. It's about ensuring that our words, our commitment to keeping the promise, are matched by action in the here and now, and not just once policy reviews are complete. In adopting this approach laid out in the motion, we are reaffirming our determination to make Clackmannanshire a place where the rights, well-being and aspirations of care experienced people are always respected and upheld. And for me, even if one care experienced young person feels more loved and supported and respected because of us, then it'll have been worth it. And that's why I commend the motion to council. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Law to second.
I don't think those of us lucky enough to grow up in a home with our family can ever truly understand the full impact that love, stability and belonging have on a child's life. It shapes who we are. That's why keeping the promise is so important. It's easy for policies and decisions to drift away from its principles, especially when we don't carry that lived experience ourselves. But we must never forget and never set aside our responsibility to ensure that cared, experienced children, young people, adults and their families are supported to live happy, healthy lives with love and respect at the heart of all public services. Clackmannanshire Council made its formal commitment to keeping the promise on the 30th of March 2022. I wasn't elected, like many of the councillors in this chamber and online today, when the council made this commitment, but I am today, and I'm happy that I can join with you and the rest of the council to reaffirm that commitment. We'll not just be doing that in speeches today, but in action through our policies. Fulfilling the promise means reviewing all the policies, past and future, through its lens. This is a complex and ongoing process, but it's essential. The approach laid out in Councillor Forson's motion ensures that our services are not legally sound, but also compassionate, inclusive and aligned with the values we stand for. By embedding the promise into everything we do, we are building a future where every care experienced person in Clackmannanshire feels seen, supported and valued.
Thank you. Motion is now open for debate. Anybody wish to debate? No. Are we happy to approve? Thank you. Item 17, again, Councillor Forson to move a motion.
Thanks, convener. So today I'm proposing this motion because the issue before us could not be more important for the future of education, opportunity and fairness in Clackmannanshire. The potential closure of Forth Valley College's Alloa campus is not simply the loss of a building, it's the loss of a vital resource for our community, a place where people of all ages and backgrounds can access learning, develop new skills and take better steps towards a better future. For many in Clackmannanshire, the Alloa campus is the only realistic route into further education. We know that vulnerable learners, working adults, carers and those trying to re-enter the workforce would face real barriers if forced to travel to Stirling or Falkirk. For some, the choice would be stark: give up on education altogether, or face financial, logistical and personal hurdles that others do not. That's why the closure would have a disproportionate impact on our area. We must also recognise the commitment and contribution of the staff at Alloa campus. They have supported thousands of learners over the years, often going above and beyond. And I'd also like us to remember the assurances given when Forth Valley College was created, and that was that there would always be a college presence in Alloa. And for me, that commitment matters. If trust between our community and public institutions is to be maintained, such promises just simply cannot be cast aside. This council has already spoken with one voice. Every elected member here signed our collective letter to Forth Valley College and to the Scottish Government, expressing our united opposition to the closure. This motion builds on that. It makes clear and puts on record Council's unanimous cross-party opposition and stands ready to work constructively with the college, the government and all partners to secure a sustainable and permanent future for further education in our county. It's not a partisan issue. It's about fairness, opportunity and the rights of our residents to access education in their own community. I would therefore ask everyone to support the motion to send the strongest possible signal that Clackmannanshire will not accept being left behind.
Thank you. Councillor Quint to second the motion.
Thanks. So this is one issue where we can all get behind, and it is really good to see that everyone kind of supporting this generally. I want to tell you a bit of a story about me. I went to Forth Valley College in Alloa as a mature student. A definition, I was a mature student, I was over 25, and then I didn't have an option to go anywhere else. I didn't drive at the time. I had a wife, had health challenges, had a young child at home. I lived in Alloa. Going to a local college campus was the only viable option for me to get further education at that time. And I remember I went to college and the staff there were brilliant. I had a fantastic experience. I gained a love of education there that I didn't get at school, unfortunately. And I remember I ran in my first election to be the student union president, which I lost. 47% of the vote. Was very close. I got my first taste of election defeat, the first of many. And then I went on to be the first person in my family to go to university, get a degree, and then now my family's life has changed dramatically compared to the trajectory it was on had I not gone to that campus there. You know, I've been able to provide for my family, give them a much better quality of life, have a good career that I enjoy, and I'm able to make significant contributions to, and I've been able to develop and learn skills that have helped me, not just in my work, but also in my work here as a councillor as well, where I can serve people better as a result. So I understand the impact college makes. And I'm telling you about me, not just because it's about me, because it's not just me. There's hundreds and hundreds of people that have been to that campus who wouldn't have gone to Stirling, who wouldn't have gone to Falkirk, couldn't have done it. It was too difficult for them, and they're having the same experience as me. And now they've got better opportunities in their life. They've got better careers, they've got better prospects, and they're contributing more to the local economies. And a lot of that is going to be here in Clackmannanshire and surrounding areas. And so it's so important that this campus stays open. It will leave a huge void. If this campus is closed, it will leave a huge void in Alloa and in Clackmannanshire that we just won't be able to replace that. And then the people that will suffer will be primarily people who are most disadvantaged, who are unable to go elsewhere, who are unable to travel, people who maybe didn't have a good time at school, who didn't achieve maybe their full potential, and they'll be the ones that are left behind. And so I'm really pleased to see all the support behind this. I was at the rally a couple of weeks ago, and I know a lot of you guys were there as well, and then a lot of other politicians were there, and it was nice to see that we were all supporting this, and there was party politics and point scoring that is put to the side on this issue, and we're all kind of coming together. I remember speaking to Councillor Emmett, and he was saying in his 20 plus years as a councillor, this is the first time he's ever seen that we wrote a joint letter with every single councillor's signature on it. And I think that says a lot about the strength of feeling this issue. So I'm pleased to second this motion, and I hope we can all get behind this, and it sends the right message to the public about how we feel, and the staff who work there and all the students, that we're on their side and we're behind them, and we'll do whatever we can to make sure that it stays open. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. The motion is now open for debate. Does anybody else want to contribute to the debate? Councillor Lindsay.
Thanks, convener. Yep, just to add my comments, particularly as the education spokesperson as well for the council. But just firstly, just to say, you know, well done, Ryan, for sort of giving your personal view there. Quite a emotional overview from yourself. So brave to step up and talk about that. And it really reinforces a number of young people that have got in touch with me directly with similar messages, actually, in terms of how important and valuable and vital the campus is, for the many reasons that have just been outlined, in terms of whether it's transport, whether it's the personal circumstances around that individual, meaning that it would be far more difficult or impossible for them to travel to further afield, whether that is Falkirk, Stirling or beyond that. So this is absolutely vital, and as council leaders highlighted, and Keith Brown's outlined during you know, back in the time where the campus was promised as a facility that would remain in Alloa, it's essential that we all get behind that, and it is pleasing to see that we are able. And I think it's a strength as a council. We're pretty good at coming together when we need to, and that's been seen in this circumstance in terms of the letter and everybody's support behind it, whether was at the sort of gathering at the college as well. So yeah, loads of young people have been in touch with me directly, so it's important for me to speak to that and outline the concerns, and I know others have been contacted as well from young people about how valuable the service is. The work that the staff do within the campus is exemplary as well, and the connections that we have as an education service with the campus has grown, and the connection and relationships there that exist, and the opportunities that exist within the schools and out with, obviously, in the campus itself, is particularly strong. So, you know, these connections that have been built up over years need to remain, to ensure that we provide as many different opportunities for young people to learn at the pace or within the environment that they prefer to do that. There's frustration out there, and an understandable frustration, that it just seems to be Alloa all the time. It seems to be Clackmannanshire all the time, and we talk about this regularly in a lot of the papers that come up. We've talked about it today, and it's unacceptable that we're in this situation, that, again, it's Alloa that's been put in the mix here in terms of the campus out of the three that is up for a closure. And we understand some of the rationale behind that, but in some cases it's completely unacceptable for that to be the case and for us to be in this situation. So let's end on a positive. We're all coming together on this. We're hoping for a positive outcome, and hopefully the discussions that have been ongoing with the Scottish Government are relatively positive, and hopefully we can get a positive outcome for the staff, for the young people, and for the older people and mature students that have come through the campus over the years. So I'll leave it at that for now and let others come in. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Any other contributions to the debate? Councillor Bilston.
Thank you, Chair. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind that we have to save this facility. The college has been with us for a large number of years, and I think Brian's single testament alone gives an indication of why it's so important to us locally. We read earlier in the reports just how bad our public transport system is, so many of our young people and old people are really, I'm not saying trapped within Clackmannanshire, but their options are very limited in terms of training. Personally, I saw the worrying trend when the college closed their night classes at the college. So groups like the Alloa Beaumar Pipe Band who trained there now travel to Falkirk in the evenings and the cold winter evenings to continue that. And that small trickle of loss of talent, because it will wear down the clubs and individuals' capacity when they have to have that extra burden added on to the kind of training opportunities before them. But I do believe there are joint solutions to this. Dare I say, even the recent announcements from Westminster, from the Labour government, about training for young people and filling that gap, employment or training. That surely is an opportunity locally to be seized upon by the college. We ourselves as a council have looked at that transition between secondary school and college, and there's opportunities there as we look at catchment areas for our secondary schools and the capacity within our schools to provide options. We've got City Deal coming in or working with Stirling University. So within that whole mix, I cannot believe that there isn't an opportunity to work in partnership to secure the college building and, more importantly, the training facilities operate out with that. And indeed for us to build that capacity, ideally I'd like to see us rebuild back those evening courses and things like that were on offer from the college. And I think it's literally all to play for, and I think all of us are united in saving the facility that it represents, Clackmannanshire College. So thank you very much for the motion, Ellen.
Thank you. Any others? Councillor Coyne.
Thanks, Kevin. Yeah, just to say, I think there's something askew here in the way that we think about education. The college sector fills, or should fill, an enormous gap between totally unskilled and university status. The bottom end of university should be wiped away, and those funds should be diverted into the college sector, so that we have a balanced education according to talent and inclination and ability. I don't think we've got that at the moment. We've got universities churning out graduates who are disappointed by what that degree means for them, and we've got trades desperate to have plumbers and electricians and whatever it is, people coming into their ranks. So there's an imbalance which needs to be corrected, and government needs to get a grip on that, I feel, to keep alive the colleges, local colleges, for all the reasons that have been described, giving people who didn't have the greatest start but had the capacity, had the capability to make something of that opportunity. I think we're doing a great disfavour by not supporting this sector.
Okay, thank you. Do you have any other contributions? Councillor Forson, do you want the opportunity to sum up?
Please, I will take the opportunity. I wanted to thank Brian as well for his contribution today. I think when you hear firsthand just what a difference the college has made to people, it really does hit home. This morning on GMS there was a whole 20-minute segment about the college sector, and they had people on from Clackmannanshire who'd gone to Forth Valley College, and just listening to them just reinforced everything I had been thinking in relation to the college. And I just want to assure members that Nikki and I have been engaging with the chief executive of the college for some time on this now, and our first kind of gut reaction when it was mooted was, well, why is it always Alloa that's chosen for closure? And for me, it's an easy option. It's the smallest campus, it's the smallest communities, they've probably got the least resistance. So yeah, Alloa's fine. We'll keep our flagship in Falkirk, and Stirling's all shiny and new. So we'll keep that, and Stirling's a city. But our first gut instinct was, well, why Alloa? And we challenged them to go away and think about other solutions. I'm not convinced that they've fully explored every solution, and I do know that that's ongoing just now with the government and the funding council. At First Minister's questions today, this issue was raised. Unfortunately, it became a political football, and that just makes me mad, because whilst the politicians at Holyrood are blaming each other and batting things back and forwards, people in our communities are worried about the future and worried about the opportunities that they might or might not have. And I just hope that our kind of national politicians could take some of the maturity from the people in this chamber who can come together and coalesce around an issue and try and find a way forward. And I know that we'll continue to do that as a council within the powers that we've got, because I think it's important to remember that we cannot force the college to change their mind, and we can't run a college, we can't take over certain things, but we can make our voice heard and stand up for our communities, and I think that that's exactly what we've done over this issue. So thanks, everyone.
Okay, thank you. Are we happy to approve the motion? Thank you very much. Because we've got one item left on the agenda, and I appreciate that it is, it's the set of minutes, but it's the set of minutes that contains exempt information. It was managed as an exempt item at the time it was presented, so proposing